your house, which isn't that often, I am immediately concerned.
Well, you should. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Wednesday Night Gentlemen Multimedia Empire official podcast. You are listening to episode number 41. On this show, we like to talk about comic books, movies, TV shows, video games, and everyone's favorite, political discourse. I am your host, Tactic Angel, and with me is Midget Radio, my murderous socialist friend.
Hello.
How are you, Midget Radio?
I'm doing well, Tactic Angel. How are you?
I am doing okay.
That's good to hear.
It is. We're going to be celebrating the end of the old year and the beginning of the new year. Do you have a beverage with you to celebrate that?
Yes, I do. I'm back on the Akashi. I was needing something a little bit smoother after all the bullet rye.
Delightful. And as for mir, wir trinken wieder Bitburger, einer besten Bier in Deutschland.
No way.
Einer der besten Bier in Deutschland. Anyway, Bitburger. Absolutely love this. It's a Pilsner. It is delightful. And for all of our several thousand German listeners, wie würde auf Englisch sagen, ich hat Königliche Bier.
Ich bin ein Berliner. That's
yes,
what I know.
I am a jelly donut.
Ein.
No, I don't know if they do the royal we in German because I don't understand any of their language. But that's not actually true, but it damn it, if you talk to a German, it feels like it.
I'm sure.
They have too many cases or whatever.
I think consonants. I think it's a consonant problem.
Really?
Too many consonants.
No, it makes way more sense that sh is SCH.
It should be sh. It's got
I would have a T on the end. Or maybe a Z, several of them. Anyway, so today we're going to be talking about the best of 2017, what our hopes and dreams are for 2018, and then we're going to hopefully finish the show by the time 2019 gets here.
I think we can do it.
As of course, we did an almost perfect episode last year. We're not going to change the format at all.
Fantastic.
So we're going to just jump straight into it. There are several movies that came out this year. Midget Radio, what is one of your favorite movies from 2017?
So I've got the list in front of me here, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to say Logan, which might be a little bit surprising, or it might not at all be surprising.
It would be 0% surprising to the people who listen to your X-Men nonsense.
If you'll remember, like when we first talked about the movie, there's that one point in the film that we both kind of fell off the bus. And
I fell off the bus, had a concussion, and went to the hospital. Apparently you had a slightly lesser condition.
Oh yeah. I have since come to realize that I'm a little bit in love with that movie, and it has mostly to do with Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart. And for some weird reason, just the setting of the film. I just love the setting. It feels to me like a kind of industrial Western. I've never seen anything quite like it before, but I love, and I don't know, maybe it's cause like I'm in Arizona, but like I just love that it feels like sort of desolate, and desert like, and then at the same time, there's still scenes like in Las Vegas that are just vibrant and full of life. It feels like a kind of loner, film, like a John Wayne or like a Gary Cooper type movie, but still manages to embrace, I think, this city life. I don't know. I'm sure what I'm saying doesn't really make any sense, but just the setting and the tone of that film, I've really grown to kind of fall in love with.
Okay. I didn't think it was terrible, but I do have to say, for me, it remains in my memory as middling in mediocrity.
That's because of X-Men bias. But anyway, moving on.
Honestly, I'll say something that would have surprised you and me. At least the you and me of like 10 to 20 years ago.
Okay.
We are so fucking old.
I know, it's disgusting. It's disgusting. I don't know
really
what we're
gross.
even still doing a lot, like just pretending that our opinions matter and that we can keep up with today's technology. And yeah, it's ridiculous.
But my choice for probably the movie that I enjoyed the most this year is, as much as it pains me to say it,
I think I know what it's going to be.
Spider-Man Homecoming.
Yeah.
There's a lot of build up to that. So that would give you a lot of context to guess, but Tactic Angel, not a big fan of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Kind of hates Spider-Man. Spider-Man's kind of an awful character. And honestly, there are not a lot of really great Spider-Man movies. I like Spider-Man 2. And that's about it.
And I know you're not alone on that. And I think like the general, even maybe just the general consensus is that of the Tobey Maguire films, Spider-Man 2 is the best. But I'm more partial to the first one, I gotta say, than the second one.
I think the thing that the first one doesn't have, the second one does have, is you see just the beautiful toll that being a good person can take on that person, right? So Tobey Maguire, Peter Parker, it has given up his, love interest. He has seen his grades suffer. His Aunt May is just about in foreclosure, and he just cannot help but try to be the good person that he wants to be in spite of it, and then like giving that up, feeling guilty about it. There's a lot of things going on in that movie, and really it is the fulfillment of with great power comes great responsibility. It is a great movie in that sense, and I do think that Doc Ock is pretty great in the movie too.
Yeah. I guess.
That said, Spider-Man Homecoming is a lot of fun, just straight up fun. Yeah. I don't know if it's Spider-Man 2 worthy in terms of thematically, but like I was really impressed with it. It makes Spider-Man fun. Tom Holland does just a fantastic job.
Yeah.
And you get the jokes probably better than you've ever seen it before on the big screen. And then that moment, this movie also has a moment where he opens the door and he sees the Vulture is his prom date's father, and the movie completely tonally shifts and it actually works.
See, that's to me, and that's I think where we separate. That's that movie's X-24 moment for me. I did not like that twist at all. I thought it was kind of annoying and a little too mechanical in order to take the movie into a more dramatic direction. I just was not along for that. It felt contrived to me.
No, while I accept that opinion, I think that unlike the X-24 moment, like there's nothing that really turns around the Logan movie for me, but in terms of the Spider-Man thing, you really do see, in spite of like all the cracking wise that Peter Parker does, he really does have a great heart. And I just love, like, in spite of this guy being like, I'm going to kill you for, if you screw around with my daughter, etc. nonsense.
Yeah.
And it being like really like weirdly on the nose. And I feel like some of that's forgivable because of just how much of like kind of a fun, lighthearted 80s vibe this movie gets, without being intentionally like over the top 80s that we've been seeing like almost way too often now. You see him and he's like, I'm trying to save you. And I just think the Tom Holland does a great job selling this. Yeah. And
absolutely.
And I had a great time. I actually have considered purchasing this movie, which is almost unheard of for Tactic Angel to consider buying anything with the words spider and or man on it.
Yeah. Well, I think you'll buy stuff with man on it, right? I mean, or man, sure.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, iron. But you have to change it. You have to change it to iron.
Right.
And
iron.
Or man.
And or. Fantastic.
Midget Radio, any other fantastic movies on your list?
I want to do like a couple of honorable mentions. And it's so I do want to mention John Wick 2 and Atomic Blonde together. Whatever flaws those films may have,
several.
I still love them overall. And I love that they are breathing some life back into a genre that I feel has been dead for some time. So I just want to give those an honorable mention and hope that they continue making films in that vein. So yeah, I just wanted to make sure they were on our list as well.
Okay. I will also give something of an honorable mention to Dunkirk.
Oh yeah, okay. I still have not seen that.
It is a very unique war story. You can't really say that it has a main character. It has several characters that you kind of follow. There's like 4 or 5 storylines, and they kind of intersect at different angles. And that's kind of an interesting thing. I think that Nolan did a really good job in actually making that work as much as I think it possibly could as a storytelling device. And strangely, this is in spite of what I would describe as kind of the most aggravating and obnoxious soundtrack in modern cinema history.
Interesting. Okay.
It is basically a high-pitched noise that gets ratcheted up or down.
Great.
Depending on the amount of sort of like nails on chalkboard that you're supposed to be feeling at the time.
Yeah.
And
fantastic.
It's not wholly, it's not the worst thing that's ever happened, but it is not a real inspired attempt to write a score. Thank you, Hans Zimmer, and Nolan, of course, for never choosing anybody else.
Yeah.
Do you have any other honorable mentions?
No. I guess it's maybe somewhat obligatory. I'm gonna throw out Wonder Woman just for DC finally making a fairly decent film.
A movie that was not complete shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you want to throw out Justice League 2? Didn't think so.
I didn't see it, so still have not gotten around to that one.
It's not very good. Okay.
Man. Someday.
TV shows. TV shows are things that are shown on TV and or Netflix or Amazon or whatever. What do you think are the most notable TV shows of 2017 Midget Radio?
Tactic Angel, I think you're gonna see a pattern here. I think you're gonna see a pretty fucking immediate.
The Gifted is the best.
It's not The Gifted. It is in fact Legion, though. And it might be because I just rewatched it because it just showed up on Hulu. And I just
was that
watched
2017?
Yeah, it is.
2017?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, we talked about it. I think it was like maybe February or March. It was early 2017.
I guess we'll have to give it to it.
Yeah. And watching that show the second time through, it is even fucking better. The first time than it was the first time, and part of that is, I think, you know who the characters are, and you kind of know what to expect. So seeing it the second time and seeing how, I mean, the show itself is like is structured almost after its main character, and watching them kind of fill in the gaps and investigate David Haller's past and fill in those memories and discover the presence of this psychic parasite. It's such an unbelievably creative show. And I think it's so incredibly tight. And the story is so well told, and the characters don't get like lost in what is a fairly abstract piece of television. It's just fantastic. It's a mold breaking TV show, and it's humorous, and it's full of characters who are likable, and yeah, I'm a huge fan. So Legion is gonna top my list because I think it's because it's done. I've never seen anything like it before. I've never seen anything like that show before.
Okay. I am not going to argue against Legion. I enjoy Legion in spite of finding it somewhat frustrating.
Yeah, I can understand that.
It's like, what is happening? I don't know. Who cares? Keep watching.
It is intensely less frustrating, I gotta say, the second time around. I feel like the choices make a hell of a lot more sense.
Okay.
The second time through, and it's all the more enjoyable. It's a much richer experience, I think.
I'm gonna go with a much easier choice.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Okay. I think I know what it's gonna be, but yes.
The Punisher.
Yeah.
If you guys have not listened to this previous episode, Midget Radio and I spend an hour and 15 minutes just saying what a good fucking show.
Is that it? Is that between because we did the 2 episodes on it. 2 episodes.
No, that's the second episode only.
God damn.
The Punisher cannot be underappreciated for how good it is.
True.
Just the performances, pretty much from top to bottom. I know you have a few issues with some of the side characters.
Whatever. Yeah.
But the major characters do a pretty good job. I shouldn't say it's just you. I don't think that Madani does a good job, but what are you gonna do? You can't. Yeah. Not everybody can get an A+. This show, fantastic. Definitely makes your Netflix subscription, at least for November, seem worth it.
Yeah.
And I hope to see more of The Punisher, and I hope that it isn't on some fucking stupid Disney platform.
I know. We'll fucking see. Yeah.
Can you imagine that? They're they'd probably launch like some Frozen and Beauty and the Beast original animated series, and then of course there's The Punisher.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
They shouldn't mess with that. Guys, tune in to see your musical weekly drama and or brutal murder fest.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're gonna get. But yeah.
Any honorable mentions from the TV show department? Midget Radio, do you have any strong feelings about The Gifted
Oh my God, of course I do.
or other shows?
Yeah, The Gifted is fucking fantastic. I'm just gonna say it's a completely solid show. That I didn't expect actually it to be as solid as it is. And that for any X-Men fans, you know, the Stepford Cuckoos that have been introduced on the show are as perfect a representation of Emma Frost on screen as you will ever fucking see, I think. So absolutely The Gifted gets a mention. I was gonna throw out, and this is in our review of all the episodes we did this year, but Castlevania also on Netflix. Surprisingly good show that I'm looking forward to more episodes of.
I enjoyed Castlevania quite a bit. My opinion of The Gifted is also middling in mediocrity. I don't know, man. It's just I haven't gotten through the whole first season yet. I keep fucking what is it? Not caring about it.
Tactic Angel, I've supplied the reasoning for you. I understand unreasonable X-Men bias. That's all it is.
I keep trying to watch it, but I find most of the characters to be fairly I don't know. It's like you have Polaris and you look at Polaris and you're like, I'm way into this.
Yeah.
And I understand that most of this is like below the belt into this sort of stuff.
Sure.
And then like the rest of this show is really not doing all that much for me intellectually or even below the belt. So I think, holy shit, you know, I'm not really into the whole
come on
American Nazi thing. I'm just gonna, I don't know, whatever.
See, I don't understand that. And I think you get upset whenever America is portrayed in less than perfect.
less than
I
less
don't
than
think it's
perfect
that
is
bad. I mean, what's interesting about the show is that like you've got fucking Jesse from Bird Notice who has a completely understandable position toward this whole issue. You have Trask Industries, which is operating kind of under the scope and under the guidance of the United States government, but also like pretty clearly outside of it. I mean, there's a lot of they do a lot of things that fly directly in the face of the Department of Justice in the show. And so, I mean, let me put it this way. I'm going to put it this way. The criticism that the show is portraying like the American government as like unreasonably fascist or anything like that, or absurdly and heartlessly prejudiced against mutants is not an accurate or reasonable reading of this show.
Okay, I'm not on like comic book resources every day. Is that seriously what people have an issue with? Because I sense a lot of it, and I think it's uncomfortable and unreasonable. And to say that it's like less than perfect is like to describe Nazi Germany as a less than perfect government.
But that's not really what you're seeing here, because Trask Industries is responsible for most of what is going on, most of what's going on with the abuse toward mutants. That's where most of that stuff is actually happening. But they're clearly subverting the will and of the Department of Justice within the show. Like they're clearly operating outside the law. And the justification for that is, well, we're fighting a war, and you know that's why this is so important. That we pursue these extremely questionable tactics, I guess, because we're fighting for our own survival. But I think it's not like the president of the United States is like, hey, let's fucking round up mutants and turn them into hounds. Like it is more complicated than that. And there are scenes that in the show that speak to that. So it's not. I don't know. I think it's just not fair to paint the show as though it is portraying the like American government as this unreasonable fascist organization that's terrified of mutants.
you did kind of like brush over my question though, because like I don't pay attention to the criticism of this show. I'm wondering, since you're kind of like more in the mix for the people who are likely to watch this shit, is that like the standard criticism of it?
No, that's
like
what I feel like your problem is with it. But I would say the standard criticism of the show is that nobody likes the family. Nobody likes the
Struckers.
Yeah,
they're
the
terrible.
Struckers. Yeah, they're fine. They're fine. I don't think they're at all bad. But I understand why. I mean, the Mutant Underground is way better, and I love John Proudstar, and I love fucking Eclipse, and I love Blink, and I love Polaris, and I love Sage, and I love Dreamer. I love all of them. I love Shatter. God damn it. I love all of them. Even though Shatter doesn't get much lines, but he's a great character.
Okay, so like so far the majority of the things that I like is that Sharon Glass is the grandmother. Because she's and like Jesse from the Burn Notice is also in it.
Yeah.
And though I mean I'm only on like episode 6 or 7 and I just keep falling asleep.
Oh,
I just keep
God.
falling asleep because it's so
Oh my God.
like I don't care about any of these people.
Esme Cuckoo. Oh.
And they do such a bad job with Blink that I don't know.
I don't have any issue with Blink. Blink is great.
Sure. You know, it's fine. It's fine. Maybe after falling asleep several dozen times, I will come around to your position. I'm just saying
it's fantastic. That jackass is a straight up purifier. I never thought I would hear that said on TV ever in my life. But my God, it's amazing. Tactic Angel, that line alone should convince you that it's the greatest show in the universe.
Okay. Do you want to say anything else about The Gifted before I give my
God no.
my one probably extremely predictable honorable mention?
Okay.
The Orville.
Yeah, I figured.
Now the Orville is a show that if there were only one episode of it and it was all about social media.
I already like where this is going. All right.
I would consider it a completely worthwhile attempt to change the way that like we all sort of interact with each other in social media.
Sure.
Because like I remember we had our thing and it was like people don't really react this way. And then that was before like the Me Too movement and we just burnt so many people to the ground. And it was just it was completely interesting. You also had things like the Chinese government is going to be rating people based on, you know, how good they are at communism.
Yeah.
Which is stupid.
Yeah.
But and it's just fascinating. And if everybody could learn a lesson from that, it would be great, but they would never will. So whatever. It's that said, it is laugh out loud, hilarious at times, fart jokes in space, good times, whatever, Star Trek.
Yeah. Yeah. Whatever. Whatever indeed.
I'm not going to go too much into it. I thought it had a pretty decent 12 episode first season. You know, nothing crazy amazing, but certainly more thoughtful sci-fi than we've seen in the last couple of years anyway.
Okay, I'll give you that with the exception of The Expanse. Because
No, The Expanse is good, but it's different. And also The Expanse kind of gets like The Expanse was on both of our lists last year,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
And
Season 1 is indisputably great.
Season 2
is highly goddamn questionable.
A little shaky,
Yes.
and you're like, I don't really feel comfortable putting my name behind this as a thing.
Yeah.
And, like season 3, if we're continuing on a trend, is going to get like worse.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably.
So I, in terms of like, The Expanse is great drama, and it's drama in space, and it takes its setting seriously, and that it is unquestionably a great show.
Yeah.
The Orville does more of the soft science fiction stuff, so it's more into allegories and
but see, like, I get that, but like, I feel like that's sometimes the same criticism that's leveled against DS9, and it's like the political interplay between a species, like that stuff is fucking fascinating, and it deserves to be considered alongside the more transparently, moral allegories or morality plays in space. The thing with the Belters, the fact that you have a species that has been alienated from Earth, people who have grown up in the asteroid belt, who have practically and because they have grown up in the belt, their own home, the Earth itself, is practically uninhabitable due to its gravity. I mean, that kind of stuff is so fucking interesting. And to see that played out on screen, and to see those kind of things taken seriously, is absolutely fascinating. And I feel like deserves to be considered alongside. I mean, yeah, the Orville can do a fucking The More You Know social media episode, and that's great and everything. But I don't know, the stuff that hits me, the stuff that I find, I don't know, just more brilliant and more interesting on an intellectual and ethical and moral level, is the kind of stuff that you see played out in The Expanse. A species that's almost like separating from itself. Like, those things are very interesting to consider beyond, hey, maybe we shouldn't all like gang up on each other and ostracize each other on social media. I
appreciate that. I appreciate that opinion, and I think that it's I mean, like, it's a difference if you were to go to Myers-Briggs between a person who's intuitive versus a person who's sensing, right? So it's like,
no, like, did you forget that we're on the internet? You're not supposed to appreciate this. You're supposed to.
I'm sorry.
Burn me alive.
You're wrong.
Thank you. Thank you.
I hate you.
Jesus Christ. That was really uncomfortable for a minute, but
your mother is a whore.
Thank you.
I hate her.
I appreciate that.
Though she always seemed very nice to me.
Fantastic.
Still not worse than the things that you said about your grandfather.
Anyway, one of the few times I'm going to thank you for calling my mother a whore.
So, like, no, I get it. Like, and certainly taking a lot of time to do introspectives of my own personality and things that I like and dislike. I appreciate that there is a natural difference between people who may be interested in the minutia, the particulars, the whatevers, and those people who are really more broadly focused.
Yeah,
I'll say. I'm trying to like use words that are not like really judgmental, right?
Yes.
Cause like both of them have a place, and I'm trying to give both of them their due. I am more of a big picture person who wants general philosophies to make sense over a broad series of issues. And some people are a little bit more parsed out.
Sure.
And there's no way to tell which one's necessarily right, but I certainly would tell you 100% of the time it's my way. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, that's why you hate women. Anyway.
Is it?
Yeah, that's the misogyny thing. I don't know how it connects. I'm sure it does. But
okay. Trust me, I love women.
Nobody loves women more than you. I'm sure.
I will love all of the women that you send me.
Speaking of, Stranger Things 2 also gets a mention in this category.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah, for what was, I had no idea how you would follow up season 1 of Stranger Things, and they fucking did it, and it was fucking great. So, yeah.
We never did a follow-up episode, which is kind of too bad.
Yeah, true. But fantastic series.
Fantastic. Video games.
Okay. So I actually went through and like tried to cobble together kind of a list of video, like larger, the video games that kind of made a mark in 2017. Right? I discovered I had played none of them. So I have exactly one, I think, 2017 title, maybe two, that I could actually talk about. And that would be Middle-earth: Shadow of War, which I think if you enjoyed Middle-earth: Shadow of whatever the fuck Mordor, I think you would probably enjoy Shadow of War as well. That is not to say it is a great game. It is a perfectly satisfactory game. And then I'm also going to mention this is the year that I finally got the PlayStation VR. And I greatly enjoy Farpoint. And I liked Arizona Sunshine as well, but the VR experience I'd say is promising. And I'm excited to play more VR titles in the future.
Are you still messing around with that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
it's
okay.
kind of a process, it's a bit of a process because you want to like dim the lights. You want to be left the fuck alone for a while. And so, it's a bit of an event to try to set up for actual VR gaming. But that said, when you are in it, it really is fun. Like Farpoint is fun, and I absolutely intend to finish that game. And I'm super interested in playing through Resident Evil Biohazard, because I think a VR like Resident Evil experience could be really fun, and I've seen nothing but really positive reviews of that game. But I've also got like the latest Eve Valkyrie game that I really want to fucking play. It's just that because VR is kind of a cumbersome thing. I mean, it's just like that's all you put that headset on, and that's all you're gonna fucking do for the next like 3-4 hours. So it's sometimes hard to find that time, but
makes sense. Okay, that's cool. Cause like so far for me, there hasn't been any real killer app for the VR. I recently bought a PlayStation Pro, and that's kind of segue into kind of like the only game that legitimately anyone would respect for me putting on this list. But I do have another one.
Okay, cool.
Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yes, on my list of intended to play games.
Horizon Zero Dawn is a completely legitimate open world experience. It is made by Guerrilla Games of the Killzone fame. And,
I didn't know that.
And they have, I don't think they've ever made like a third person game like this before. And actually they did a really good job right off the bat. Very respectable combat, very respectable sort of RPG mechanics. There's a lot of things that are going pretty well in this game. Like the dialogue's a little stilted.
Whatever.
And not exactly naturally delivered all the time.
Sure.
But, if you play RPGs, it happens a lot. And it is nowhere near as fucking terrible cringe as like the last BioWare game.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, my face doesn't work because nobody could be bothered to animate.
Yeah. God, do you think that, like, not to segue too much, but do you think we'll get to a point where like voice acting and the quality of the dialogue and the story are like seriously going to inhibit a person's enjoyment of a game. Because I feel like where we come from, right? You expect it basically. You just expect, well, this is going to be a little flat and it's going to be a little stupid. I don't give a fuck. I'm just trying to get to the next mission. I just wonder if we'll reach that point where like those things matter a lot more.
So I kind of hope no.
Yeah.
Because when I look at it, like there are games that have just fantastic voice acting and fantastic scripts and whatever. And I would probably point to like the Batman Arkham City territory.
Yeah.
You have, Mark Hamill and you have whatever his name, Batman guy.
I would throw
whatever.
Yeah, I'd throw the Uncharted games in there as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you have those and they stand out because they really do have a quality to them that is beyond average.
Yeah.
And that's great. It's icing on the cake.
Yeah.
To look at a game like Deadpool.
Yes.
Deadpool was a C+ game at best.
But that icing was so sweet.
It had a lot of icing, and the icing was all really good. But like honestly, the replay value of that game is pretty questionable because it's not a good game. It's just that what is it, New Moon or I don't remember what studios made it.
Oh God.
It has something to do with Moon Studios made it, and the writing was fantastic.
It was unbelievable,
and the voice acting was good. Everything came together for that, and exactly the sort of hokey nature that you would hope it would. For a Deadpool movie, and that made it better. But like that's an aberration for the most part. Yeah. For the most part, when Cloud says, "Oh, if I fall in the lava, I'll be crispy critters." Like I don't need that voice animated. I don't care. Yeah. Like it's
though
just
I guess we may see that in the remake, right? Like I guess we may actually hear him say that line potentially.
Maybe. I think first we're gonna get the cross-dressing scene, so
I can't wait.
That's exciting. So I don't know. I hope not, because like for the most part, I want the games to be about the game, like the gameplay. Yeah. And we can forgive a lot of sins when it comes to like story and what
Valkyria Chronicles. Yes.
A little bit there. I'm gonna admit it. I think that game is a little bit too Japanese, but But I mean, you get it.
Yeah.
You've played the games that are that have good stories. That's a plus. The point of playing a game is that you are the hero.
Yeah.
And not some fucking voice actor.
Yeah.
Like my enjoyment or not enjoyment of the original Destiny was not based on whether Peter Dinklage was telling me how to open a door correctly.
Right. The gameplay itself is an art form, clearly. I think, and still one that is difficult to master, and difficult as well, I think, to innovate. So yeah, I mean, for me, I mean, I feel like that's always going to be the meat of every game you ever play. I can't imagine giving any sort of significant downgrade to a video game experience because of things like voice acting or even the overall story. I don't give a shit.
I mean, it would have to be pretty garish,
pretty egregious. Yeah. Yeah.
Without going too much into it, I'm going to give a little shout out to Everybody's Golf. I enjoy this game.
Everybody's Golf.
It is a game that you play that is about golf. You get to dress up your character and make them like you want.
That's exciting.
I enjoy this game.
That's kind of cool. I like that.
A really nice transition from the last game. Everybody's Golf is kind of the international version of Hot Shots Golf that we've been familiar with for 2 or 3 PlayStation generations. This basically translates that into sort of a modern play style. You can do other stuff, fish and drive a fucking golf cart around, but whatever. Cool. It's fun.
You can fish in everybody's golf. All right.
Yes.
Interesting.
I mean, who wouldn't want to fish in a golf game?
Right. Why wouldn't you? I guess. I mean, there are all those lakes. So, yeah.
Uh-huh. I was hoping to get some of my balls back.
Sounds compelling.
Really is. That's all I got for video games, though.
Honestly, the list I put together was like games I want to play. Like, I kind of want to play Wolfenstein 2. I don't understand why the Wolfenstein games are kind of appealing to me, but I do want to play it.
Because they came out way back when you were a child?
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe, I liked the first one, and then I liked the Old Blood. I actually enjoyed playing through all of that. So I'm curious to play Wolfenstein 2. I'm very curious about Neo because it gets compared to Dark Souls all the time. So that one I'm really looking forward to playing for, and also Persona 5 because I want to date girls. So, and I want to do homework, and I want to date girls. So
you're such a child.
Yeah, that's it though. Yeah, that's all I got.
Okay, good times. I don't have anything else on my list. We're going to go into winners, losers, and then the victims of 2017. Victims, yes. We always enjoy the victim section. Anyway, winners. Do you have anybody written down for winners of 2017?
Yeah. I find this category easier on our show than the other ones. So I have the one that I have at the top of my list is Disney. Because they own the universe.
Money?
Yeah, they have all the money and they own the entire universe now. So, good job, Disney. You finally did it. It is literally a Disney World now.
I can't argue with that. I find Disney's purchase of Fox to be highly troublesome.
Yeah. Well, I guess what? The FCC still has to rule on it.
Yeah.
But, whatever. I don't expect anything from that. So, whatever.
I know. It's just, you can't own the X-Men.
I know.
Marvel and Star Wars at the same time. And then also make Frozen and
I know
all the
it's ridiculous
nonsense. It's just
ridiculous.
Terrible.
I gotta say, I am excited for... Like the X-Men I'm a little more dubious about because I feel like now some people are starting to find some foothold with how to fucking put the X-Men on like TV and in film. But I'm actually pretty excited for what it could mean for the Fantastic Four. So I will say that the Fantastic Four deserve a fucking good live action representation. So
I won't argue with that, though I do not particularly care for the Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
But I don't care for Spider-Man and shit. We were just talking about that.
Yeah. 2 years from now, Tactic Angel. You know what? The Fantastic Four, pretty fucking great movie.
Yeah. It's best movie of the year. I have kind of like a positive winners and like a cynical winners. So which one do you want?
Your choice.
We'll go with the positive one. The gamers.
The gamers. Okay.
The gamers.
Okay.
So EA recently put out a little known title called Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
And they had a loot box controversy.
Loot box controversy. I'm wholly unaware of this.
Okay, so the issue was that there are no levels really in Battlefront 2.
Okay.
And the whole way that you advance your character is by getting stuff out of loot boxes.
Interesting. Okay.
So you could just go and buy loot boxes as was intended at the start.
Okay.
And apparently that was not to the liking of most people for pretty obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And then promptly taken out right before launch or right after launch. It was within a day or two, plus or minus the launch. And EA, a very large manufacturer, publisher of games, circled back and decided maybe we will try to do something different.
Interesting.
And like, I consider that to be a pretty big win for gamers. Hopefully the first of many wins that kind of helps to maybe make games less about throwing as much money at it as possible.
Yeah.
And more about just having fun.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
Do you have any other winners, Midget Radio?
Oh God. I did. I mean, I already addressed it with the Wonder Woman movie, so I did kind of want to throw it out to DC for at least making one pretty decent movie in 2017, to finally fucking pull that off. So, you know, good for them. Good for them. They finally pulled off a film that met with both critical and audience success.
Okay.
Shit! No, I'm gonna completely interrupt you. I'm sorry. The other thing I wanted to throw out was just that I feel like X-Men fans as well should feel like winners of 2017. I think combined with the fact that we had a film like Logan, and we had both Legion and The Gifted, and that we had what I feel is a clearly highly successful reboot of the X-Men franchise in the comics, where we're seeing more X-Men comics now than we've seen since probably the fucking 90s. And they've all been pretty damn good out of the gate. I mean, certainly there are some quibbles here and there with the comics, but I mean, overall, Resurrection has been just a fantastic reinvigoration, I think, of the franchise. And I think we've got a lot of great writers and a lot of great artists on these books, and we haven't seen that as fans in quite a few years. So I did want to throw that out there. I don't think anyone gives a shit, but fucking I do. So there you go.
Yeah, I've heard lots of good things. I think that Iceman is due for another fantastic year, right?
Man.
Moving on.
Iceman, and really the saddest one is Generation X, and man, but then at the same time, we're gonna get a Domino series from Gail Simone, who's like a really great writer in the industry, who's done work almost exclusively for DC and is jumping over to Marvel to do Domino here in the future. We've got a Gambit and Rogue limited series. We've got a Legion limited series. Phoenix Resurrection. That event has been fantastic so far. So I mean, it's a bright future. It's been a bunch of great titles. Not all of them have made it through the year, which is sad. But I mean, still overall, I'd say the horizon is pretty bright for the franchise.
I'm very happy for you.
Thank you. Anyway.
I'm going to jump back because, of course, before you started yelling, would have made a fantastic segue into what I was going to talk about. For winners of the year, my cynical winners of the year are all the phonies.
All the phonies.
So there's a thing about being a social justice warrior that you're never free from a few freeloaders. Like Meryl Streep and Oprah to fill up your mansion with. To all
Okay.
you phonies, to all you two-faced friends, you sycophantic suck-ucks who smile through your teeth at women, please just leave. Please go. Stop smiling. It's not a joke. Please leave. The party's over. Get out.
Okay.
This is of course a nod to all the people who worshipped at the feet of terrible people, offered up young meat to be raped by terrible people, known terrible people, and who have so far dodged the executioner's axe. Most notably, Meryl Streep and Oprah, who have been kind of riding high on this Me Too movement while being completely complicit in the goings on of people like Harvey Weinstein.
Oh, because of the kid. See, I don't really know what like Oprah's. I don't know anything about Meryl Streep's fucking relationship, but like Oprah's relationship to Harvey Weinstein is really. I mean, I know there's that picture, but like, you know, I don't know that makes her completely complicit. I don't know.
Without going too much into it, it is more than one picture.
Well, that she had to work with the guy. Yeah, sure. I don't know. I mean, that seems like kind of a difficult thing to criticize people for, you know, especially women for. Like, if you're in like if you work in an industry that has that kind of power structure, certainly you have to, you know, get along with some of these fucking people in order to have any kind of success, I guess, there. And only then, you know, now in I guess late 2017 and now 2018, are we seeing a pretty huge backlash for a lot of that? I mean, I don't know that like invalidates their feelings, you know, so much for it. I mean, because wasn't Oprah like raped as a kid or something? I mean, I'm sure she has like a lot of sympathy for people who have experienced, you know, sexual trauma and stuff like that. So I don't know. I don't know, Tag. I don't know. I don't know the whole
Wouldn't that
story.
be like the opposite?
I just think like it's maybe a little too cynical, but
oh yes, a little too cynical. Tactic Angel is a little too cynical.
that is not probably an unreasonable assessment, but
I'm just saying these people who are riding the coattails of other people who are slaying their own masters are doing pretty well for themselves.
But that's the thing, though, right? I mean, you get into the system, you work the system, and then you change the system, right? I mean, isn't that another possible interpretation of what they're doing here? Like, isn't that one more possible? I don't know. It just seems a little too cynical to me.
So, like, I appreciate that because that's a very Saul Alinsky sort of rules for radicals thing, which I happen to be reading at this very moment. But and I will have more thoughts on that when the time comes. But I don't think these people are so much leading that charge. I think that they are basically we're just riding the waves, buoys.
Well,
basically.
my understanding is that generally that is how politicians work. And since Oprah is going to run for president, apparently makes perfect fucking sense to me. So
sure.
But I don't know, man. I don't fucking know. I was going to put like, I guess, I don't fucking know, man. Maybe women in the category for winners of the year, because it is interesting to see like all of these stories about sexual harassment coming out of the fucking woodwork, and that all of it seems to be in the entertainment industry primarily. And some of the stories like that have come out and that people have that men like, you know, Louis C.K. or even Dan Harmon of, you know, Community and Rick and Morty, like the stuff that they've admitted to, it's worse, I think, than I thought it actually was. It's surprisingly more abusive than I thought it was. So you know, that's getting some traction and people are paying attention, and that the women in the industry who have been experiencing this kind of stuff feel that they've got a fucking voice, and that they can express themselves and express these issues without fear of having their careers fucking destroyed. You know, that sounds like a win to me. So
I agree insofar as like being able to talk out about the people who wrong you and without having your career destroyed is a good thing.
yeah.
I think some of this stuff, like particularly with the who is the guy? Who's the Born Identity guy?
Oh, Matt Damon? Yeah.
Matt Damon. Matt Damon got in trouble a couple of weeks ago because he said basically we need to differentiate between people who were essentially inappropriately touched and people who were raped.
Yeah.
And like there was an outrage associated with that. And it's like, that's absolutely true. And as a person who has been inappropriately touched, I can tell you that is different than being raped.
Well, sure. Yeah, I don't know that it was I mean, whatever. He's gonna be fine.
No, he's gonna be fine. But like the outrage machine that says you can't say this, is just absurd because it's patently obvious that like being fucking pounded in the ass is completely different than somebody touching you somewhere that you don't want to be touching. You're like, hey,
sure,
you know, buddy, you get off of me.
Sure, I get that, but then you have to, like, it's fair to criticize him for bringing up that point at the same time, right? I mean, it's fair to call him out for that, because how many of these fucking people are facing criminal charges for rape? I'm gonna pose the number 0. So it's so I think to take it to that fucking extreme, to call this out like it's a legitimate concern is ridiculous.
There are certainly people who Harvey Weinstein has been accused by at least 2 or 3 women of straight up rape, which may be
and
like that's
like
that is a serious issue.
Yeah.
And like I remember so I listened to like Philip DeFranco, right?
I don't know who Philip DeFranco is.
Okay, well he is a YouTuber and he has slightly more viewers than us.
Oh my goodness, all these YouTube people. Okay.
So Philip DeFranco one time on the same episode starts with a high school teacher, like I think it was a gym teacher, who knew who he had AIDS or HIV, you know, just bad stuff.
Right.
Knowingly sexually assaulted like 20 or 30 kids.
What does that mean, sexually assaulted? Like he raped them, or he
fucking pounded them in the ass?
Okay, so he raped 20 to 30 kids. All right.
The next thing was George H.W. Bush sexually assaulted an actress.
Right.
And immediately I was like, how?
Right.
He's in a wheelchair.
Right.
And then it was like, he touched her butt.
Okay.
It's like, we need different words.
Okay. But
that's
I get it, but that's one fucking YouTuber, right? I mean, like, who cares?
I get it, but it's a beautiful example of how like these two things are both wrong.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And then at the same time, they are magnitudes of wrong different.
Which I get,
from one another.
But it's also not indicative of how most of the country thinks, right? So if Matt Damon is addressing like that particular fucking YouTuber, fine. then his argument makes sense. If he's addressing most of America, maybe that doesn't make as much sense, right? Because I feel like most of America can distinguish between fucking rape and touching somebody on the butt.
On the butt.
Yeah.
No, but like the point is ultimately like these, like Philip DeFranco and Matt Damon basically talk to the same audience. And
I guess. I don't know. It's I don't, I don't know who the fuck this fucking YouTube guy is. I've never seen anything from him. I've never heard of him until now. So, but I have heard Matt Damon, and I do know what he said about, I do know why he caught a bunch of fucking flack.
I would say that Philip DeFranco is middle to leftist.
But who gives a shit? What? None of that means anything. None of that means fucking anything anymore.
Like, honestly, it is a completely legitimate opinion that should not have been shot down as
it's a legitimate opinion. I'm just not sure what merit it has. And that's like, it's fair to criticize it at that point, right? It's not like it's like calling out, it's like criticizing white supremacist rallies, right? It's a little bit like calling those out, and you're like, well, it's not fucking Hitler. It's not like they're gassing Jews and burning them up in the middle of the fucking street, right? So, it's not that bad. It just doesn't seem like, I don't know. It's fair to point out that, maybe the issue that Matt Damon is raising isn't much of an issue, really. That, Harvey Weinstein may have been accused of rape in a couple of circumstances, but we're not necessarily equating rape with somebody who touches a woman on the butt. I'm just not sure what merit that argument really has.
I don't want to get too much into it because, I mean, honestly, I don't want us to be on record for saying how many people you have to rape before we care.
Right. I think it's 5, but yeah.
I think he's only up to 2 or 3.
So he's fine.
He's in the clear, I guess. But, and also it's not the point of this show.
No.
But, I mean, like, we can disagree on this. I think he was unduly crucified. You think maybe not.
Well,
and that's fine.
I think I think his response was a little bit tone deaf, and I think he should have known that. But the point itself is fine. It's fine. I'm just not sure what utility or it really had. That's really the issue.
No, I appreciate that because, like, on the one side you do have, is it worth saying?
Exactly.
And then on the other side, I understand that what you're saying is that people are unreasonable and you should meet them at their level of unreasonableness.
I just like, why the fuck? Because it looks like when you make points like that, right? It looks like you're trying to mitigate. It looks like you're trying to mitigate the crimes of another person, as though you were trying to make them less severe than they actually are, That's the issue. And that's the perception. And it's a completely fucking reasonable perception, I think. It's absolutely reasonable for a woman who was, let's say, verbally abused by Harvey Weinstein, who used maybe sexually aggressive language or whatever the fuck, right? That's still a fucking crime. And for someone to come out and try to differentiate between that and rape, it's like, well, why? Because you're trying to make him seem like less than a bad, like it's a weird defense to try to proffer in that particular circumstance. So it makes perfect sense for people to get upset in the face of that. I mean, if you've been the victim of, if you've been on the fucking receiving end of that and you have somebody like Matt Damon coming out and defending this dude, it's perfectly fucking reasonable to be a little bit upset about that. I think, anyway.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, like, I look at it and I think, as a person who has been inappropriately touched, I do not feel like the victim of rape.
But I don't know I don't know who's particularly arguing that. I don't know who exactly.
It's just where I'm at.
But we're
gonna move on.
Who's arguing that? That's the point, though. Like, who's actually saying, "Well, he touched me on the butt, and that's how he raped me." Right? I don't know who that accuser is. So
I would have to look.
If that accuser doesn't exist, right, and you are making that argument, fucking why? I'm just
they exist because
I don't know, man.
I've
Maybe
seen it.
on
I don't
maybe
remember
on
her
fucking
name
YouTube. I don't know,
specifically.
but
I think she was a
Maybe-
cast member of some production.
it was a Facebook comment. I don't know, but
No. She was a reasonably famous person, at least compared to us.
I don't know.
And
It's a weird distinction
which
to
wouldn't
wanna
take much.
try to make, but
Losers of the year, Midget Radio.
oh god, losers. All right. I'm gonna offer one, and I think we can agree on it, but but I think maybe for different reasons, or I don't know. I'm gonna say fans of the Star Trek franchise.
I had something actually remarkably close to that. And you tell me whether or not you think it's real close.
Okay.
It says people who did not like Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Oh. Sure. Okay. I can see a similarity there. Yeah.
I think this is both basically the the clowning of anybody's hopes and dreams and loves of anything that Disney owns.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna get basically the same movie with the same characters,
different faces,
and different names,
Yeah.
and that's it.
yeah. Yeah.
Disappointing.
Yeah.
Disappointing.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Yeah. So while Star Trek Discovery fucking fails to live up to its franchise, I don't think it's as bad as some people might say it is, but it absolutely fucking has completely failed to live up to the best and even the most fucking passable, I would say, of Star Trek. And chief among its issues is that it features a character who is wholly unlikable, and completely unsympathetic, and that it seems to lean into strangely melodramatic I don't know, portrayal or aspect of Trek. I mean, particularly with this recent like mirror universe stuff, it's just Jesus Christ. That is a show that has absolutely no idea how to have any fucking fun in the environment that in which it is set. And it's stupid and sad. But there you go.
Mostly agree.
Yeah.
I think I laughed once, but it might have been that I laughed at something that was so dumb
Yeah.
that I couldn't believe it, rather than that was legitimately intentionally funny.
Michael Burnham is a fucking problem. Michael Burnham is a fucking problem, and that's all. I think she's the chief issue with the show. I think there are a lot of other surrounding issues that have nothing to do with her that are also very fucking problematic. But Shia, I would say, is chief among the problems with that fucking show. I do not care. I do not care about her. I don't care about her fucking feelings. I don't care about any of her relationships or how she relates to anybody else on the ship. And that is not good. That's not good for a Star Trek show. It's just not good. There are things about the show that are fairly decent and I think promising, but when you have so much of the weight of it placed on the shoulders of a character who is totally unlikable and completely unsympathetic, you just don't have a very good show. So
you heard it here first, guys. Midget Radio doesn't think that it is a good idea to have a main character that is complete trash.
Yep. Yeah. I think it's that she's a black woman. That must be my giant problem with it.
Strangely, we're going to circle back to this concept by the end of the show.
I'm sure we will.
I had a loser of the year. It is my cynical loser of the year.
Okay.
Lena Dunham.
Oh God. Okay. I will offer no defense. So go ahead.
For those of you who do not know, Lena Dunham is the writer or director of Girls,
Yeah.
the HBO show that is no longer on the air because nobody liked it and nobody cared.
Well, it had like a pretty good run. I think it was like 6 or 7 seasons or something, like much longer than I felt it deserved. But yeah.
So it seems to me that over the last year, Lena has kind of become cancer for everything that she hopes to advocate for.
Okay.
With the whole hashtag Me Too movement, Lena is kind of a bad actor in this space because in part she admits to raping her sister multiple times. And then
she,
in
like,
part
kissed
because
her
she's
once,
full of shit.
Right? Like,
no, she finger banged her sister.
oh, really? I don't remember that.
When she was like 2 years old or something. And you're just like, that's you are a broken human being.
Well, how old was she?
I think she probably would have been 8 or 9 at that time, right? Like that's fairly like you probably shouldn't do that territory.
Sure.
Why would you even think of that? I don't know.
I don't know. People are weird, but
I do not have a vagina, so I do not know.
That's true. Maybe if you had a vagina, you'd want to put something in it. So,
man, really uncomfortable moment. So Lena's mostly become under fire because she has famously tweeted out that every victim deserves to be believed until that person is somebody or until that victim is accusing somebody that she happens to like, in which case they're a fucking liar.
Sure.
And naturally, she's become sort of a social pariah for this, and probably is a good thing.
I guess. I don't care. Lena Dunham.
I think it's a good step because you have certain people out there in the entertainment industry, and I'm thinking particularly Roman Polanski, who's a convicted pedophile.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
And who has had several more people accuse him of various levels of sexual misconduct.
Yeah.
As kind of a step in the right direction. I think I think society discarding with Lena Dunham is probably a good thing. I think
to the extent that society listened to her in the first place is, yeah, sure.
There you go. I think that she is undoubtedly a loser of 2007.
Sure. Yeah, I guess. I'm not going to defend her, so.
Midget Radio, she's one of your people.
No, she is not. I don't give a fuck. I did not like Girls. I thought it was kind of really badly written show, but.
It was written by Lena Dunham.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I thought it was like
she's
a really
so
badly written, really generic fucking show. Yeah, I thought the humor was pretty derived and pretty obvious, and I didn't find any of the characters. But that's always what it comes down to. That's the sad part. Like, and that's what. So divorced from just the general politics of the United States today, with particular focus on like narrative fiction. The issue is, do you have characters that are remotely interesting, and is the show well written? And all of that we should be able to consider independent of race and gender and all of the rest of that. I feel like, at least I've had a couple of conversations about particularly Star Trek Discovery where it seems like people want to give the show the benefit of the doubt because we've got a black female lead in the show, which is great. All of that's fucking wonderful. But it doesn't change the fact that you still have to write a good show and you still have to create an interesting character. Like, you still have to deal with those fundamentals of narrative fiction, of storytelling. And when a show fails to fucking do that, it's reasonable to criticize it for so doing. I think Girls is a fairly generic fucking show, with fairly generic characters and I think a pretty derivative sense of humor. And I think Star Trek Discovery is just a god awful main character who's completely fucking unsympathetic, and it has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that she's a black woman. It has nothing to do with that. So, I don't know. That's where I am with it anyway.
Agree. Midget Radio, do you have any other losers for this year?
I don't know. I don't want to get too political. I was going to say maybe the poor fucking bastards who were at one time protected under DACA and
it's hard to tell where they are right now.
Immigrants in general, but I don't want to get too fucking deep in the woods on that. So,
victims? Do you want to go into victims of the year?
I feel like this is kind of a trollish category. I have some difficulty.
I'll start us out.
Okay.
I'll start us out.
Okay.
Because it's a trollish category.
Okay.
I wrote down, and I literally wrote this down, but you have been hammering this nail all night.
Okay.
Michael Burnham.
Oh God. Oh my God. You will get no argument from me on that one.
So Michael Burnham is the illegitimate heir of the Star Trek legacy, and whose one recourse should you not like her for the myriad of complex reasons and positions is to call you racist, sexist, xenophobic, homophobic, something.
Yeah.
Who gives a damn anymore? This is actually sort of like a personal pet peeve. The personal pet peeve of mine, because sometimes I read treknews.net and holy shit, the number of people who will straight up say, if you do not like any single episode of Star Trek Discovery, which are almost uniformly somewhere between mediocre and absolutely abysmal.
Yeah.
It is significant.
Yeah. I don't know.
And
I guess.
It's just obnoxious.
Yeah.
It's like you're not allowed to dislike Michael Burnham because she's a black female. It's like that's fucking racist.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it absolutely is. She is a terribly fucking written character. And I don't like I've started to wonder, like, I don't know if it's her, the actress is Sinequa Martin Green, I think is her name. Mm-hmm. And I can't, this is always the problem where you have a difficult time sort of delineating the writing between, like, delineating the script itself and then the performance on top of that. And it's hard. I don't know if it's her fault. I don't know if she's really even culpable in any of this, because so much of what is written for her as a character is so fucking bad that I don't know that she can really fucking do anything, honestly, to mitigate that. But the show is just, it's so fucking melodramatic, especially with this recent turn into, which, spoiler alert for anybody, I guess, who hasn't fucking seen this, but the recent turn into the mirror universe, it's played so fucking melodramatically that it's almost impossible to take it seriously. And her character makes such ridiculous goddamn decisions, and you have no fucking sense of where she's even coming from. Like, she's just so badly written that it's hard to tell. Like, I feel like if we at least knew kind of maybe where she was coming from, maybe it would make more sense. But, like, we know she was trained. We know she was trained on Vulcan. We know she's full on human being, and somehow that has produced an almost psychotic, melodramatic person. And I don't know, I fucking don't know how. So I don't know. She's just a really badly written character. And I don't know. I would say at the very least, the lion's share of it is not Sinequa Martin Green's fucking fault. That's for sure.
I would agree. I mean, like, it at a certain point, I mean, if you were to watch this show and I were to show you like 3 random episodes, you would not be able to place them in a chronological order, in spite of them having some sort of chronological dependency upon one another.
A little, yeah.
And it would be hard for you to predict the shows that came in between it
Yeah.
that would cause such just erratic character behavior.
Yeah.
So, I mean, part of this I understand is Sonequa Martin Green is an attractive woman.
Yeah.
And like, I understand that I am probably naturally more willing to give her the benefit of the doubt than I ought to. But I am pretty sure it's the writing is just abysmal.
The writing is the chief issue. It is the chief issue on this show. And it's not like as much weight as I guess, as the fact that we're citing her character as such a gigantic problem, it's not reflective of her. I feel like it's because the scripts that are turned in are so dependent on her on her character. She, like, her fucking character directs so much of the show's action. And if it's a bad character, then the writing surrounding it is just it's just kind of terrible, and it doesn't really hold up. I mean, there are things about the show that are genuinely kind of interesting. I kind of like Captain Lorca. I think he's the strongest fucking performer on the show by far. But yeah, I don't know. It's absolutely the fucking writing. It's it's things like it's the tardigrade, it's the mycelium network, all of that shit. It's just like, God damn it. This is a lot to have to fucking swallow, on top of the fact that my main point of contact in this show is a character that I barely goddamn understand and absolutely do not sympathize with.
Yeah. No, completely erratic. And there's almost no way to sympathize with her without being a madman yourself. And
they try to, like, introduce this weird, like, romantic relationship for her, and there's no fucking chemistry between those two actors at fucking all. There's nothing there. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what you're supposed to do in light of that as an audience member, except just, well, the first season of Trek shows is generally pretty rough, so
keep giving them $9 a month.
I don't know. It's sad. I having seen at least, up to the present number of episodes, I understand season 1 still has what, I guess, like 7 episodes left in this in the year of 2018.
It was like 3 or 4.
I don't fucking know.
We're gonna review it at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. But the writing is the worst thing. The stuff that they're doing with the Klingons certainly has not been helping. And they just, I mean, the crew, it's like they need those fucking crew members in order to carry this show, and they really haven't given them enough depth, I think, at this point to carry this show forward. So it's hard, and I don't know. It's difficult. And then you have just the enormous weight of all of that continuity baggage sitting on top of mediocre to bad writing. It's just, what are you supposed to do with any of that?
Yeah.
I don't know. There are things that I have mildly enjoyed about the show, but they are generally few and far between. So
we'll get to that on the episode when we get to the end of the season.
Yeah. All right.
And as much as it would please me to listen to you continue to hammer that nail into that coffin that is Star Trek,
Michael Burnham, man.
Do you have any other person written down as your person? Or I remember that last year you accused the vast majority of Americans that they were the victim.
Oh, it was just white people, because that was the thing that got Trump elected, was all of the horrible things that have happened to us over.
Have you narrowed that down to maybe
Obama
fewer
years.
People this time? Or are you just going to go with straight up human beings?
Human beings are generally, victims of the year. But no, I don't really have anything else. I mean, I could, we could call out Trump because, he generally he generally is. I mean, he generally makes himself out to be. The media, the FBI, fake news, right? Everybody's against him except for all the people who love him, which is everybody. But then everybody else hates him, you know. But I don't care. I don't give a shit. So
you're good.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, that brings us to the end of episode number 41 then of the Wednesday Night Gentlemen Multimedia Empire official podcast. Please feel free, if you've enjoyed this video, to like or subscribe to our channel. You can also find us on Twitter, where we are WNG_MME_OPC, or head on over to Facebook, where we are simply the Wednesday Night Gentlemen. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And of course, we will see you again on episode number 42 of the Wednesday Night Gentlemen Multimedia Empire official podcast.
Bye.